Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's your boy, Celine Driver, me, coming to you today with a video that was requested a while ago by my good friend, the Battle Angel. She of also inspiring other video ideas, walking and talking video ideas. This is not a walking and talking. This is sitting and talking, and in a minute we'll be standing and talking with a visual aid, which I don't normally use, but in this case it helps. But using the, at the moment, Battle Angel Memorial Selfie Stick, she wanted to find out a little more about something that I talked about many months ago regarding the reason why Sarasota, Florida seems to have avoided most hurricane hits over the past well over a century. With a few exceptions. I mean, we have Sarasota has seen its share of hurricane activity, but very little. And in cases of some storms, like the multiple storms that passed through and hit other parts of Florida in 2004 and 2005, particularly Hurricane Charlie comes to mind, came very close to hitting Florida back in the day. It looked like it was going to, Sarasota, Florida, I should say. It looked like it was going to be a direct hit on my little city. But then for some reason, as it approached a city and area south of me called Charlotte Harbor, the Port Charlotte, Northport, Punta Gorda area, it all of a sudden, that storm made a very sharp and unpredicted right turn and went up the middle of the state, what we call the spine of the state, instead of going up the coast, the west coast of the state, and hitting places like Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, that sort of thing. Instead, it went up the middle of the state through Charlotte Harbor and hit places like Sebring and Arcadia and Duet. Yes, there is a little city called Duet. Zolfo Springs, Wauchula, those places. And people wonder why. Well, the legend is that there is Indian burial grounds in the Sarasota area, and the Indian tribe that buried their people in those Indian grounds laid blessings upon the area to help mitigate the risk of the area being hit by hurricanes in perpetuity. I have some paperwork here that I got. Let's see. The print on this one is pretty small, but with the exception of Hurricane Irma, which I believe was 2016 or 17, I don't remember. Sarasota, Florida hasn't been hit by a hurricane since the mid 1800s. It's kind of fascinating when you consider Florida kind of sticks out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean and the Atlantic, and all those hurricanes that pass by us and nothing ever seems to happen. Let's see. Before Hurricane Irma, I'm reading off of a piece of paper here. Before Hurricane Irma, the city of Sarasota did not have a direct hit for over a century. There were partial recorded hits in the surrounding areas in 1944, 1950, and then from Hurricane Charlie in 2004. But Irma did hit Sarasota, but it hit in a weakened state. It was a Category 4 storm, but all of a sudden, for some reason, it weakened before it hit Sarasota. Let's see. Local archaeologists say that there are myths passed around by word of mouth rather than by any reality regarding Native American culture. So this thing about the Indian burial grounds and the blessings of the area are more legend than they are reality, as you would expect, of course. But maybe there are scientific reasons, and that's where my visual aid will come in here in a few moments. But as for the myths, we do know for a fact that Native Americans lived in Sarasota, but the origins of the Indian burial ground legend are still largely circumstantial, and some people even deny the existence of these burial grounds. No one knows exactly where they are, quite honestly. But the legend is that there were about 2,000 Native American people living in this area, and they settled in this area because of its protection from major storms. And they settled here, and they lived here, and they died here, and they created an Indian burial ground, and they blessed it and the surrounding area so that the area would be protected in perpetuity from hurricanes. And it seems, if you believe the legend, and why not? I mean, I'll believe anything that keeps my home and my family safe. But if you believe such things, it seems to be working, which is not a bad thing. But let me stop the video real quick, reset the camera to a different perspective, and show you what I think is a big part of the explanation of why the west coast of Florida in general, and my area in particular, is fairly safe. Be right back. Okay, now as you can see, we've switched perspective and locations, and as you can see, no expense has been spared in demonstrating this point. Hopefully y'all can hear me, and I'm going to be over here. I'm using a large ruler as a pointer, so hopefully this will make sense to you. Okay, what we have here is a map of the Gulf, Caribbean, and Atlantic coast. For those of you who went to Tennessee or Georgia or Florida State, this is the east coast of the United States. This is the Gulf of Mexico region. Down here is Mexico, Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, the Atlantic Ocean. Here's Cuba, that's Key, Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and right here circled in red is Sarasota, Florida. This is, of course, the great state, the great free state of Florida, in red. You have the Yucatan here underlined in blue, and Cuba underlined in blue. Africa is over here. This is where most storms originate during hurricane season, which lasts from June 1st to November 30th. So, and that's why I'm making this video now, because hurricane season is about to start up again. Now, these green lines, these green dashes, represent, in general, the direction of most hurricanes as they form out here off of the coast of Africa. Now, later in the season, when the Atlantic Ocean is cooled off, a lot of hurricanes will form in the Gulf, and they'll go this way. But they mostly head in this direction, up into places like Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, and the Panhandle. Now, here's what usually happens on the Africa track. They usually take one of two tracks in general. You can look this up for yourself if you want to. They either go north of Hispaniola, which is the island which is split in half between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. They go up this way and up the east coast of the United States, and they'll either go into Florida on the east coast. Sorry, Tiger Cat. But you moved into a city that is a little bit vulnerable right here. St. Augustine, that's where she is. Or they will turn, depending on what weather is going on up here, they will turn and they will head into the Carolinas. Sorry, Pigskin Pete, but you get hit a lot in South Carolina. Now, the ones that head into the Caribbean, down here, they head south of Hispaniola, south of Puerto Rico, south of Jamaica, or between Jamaica and Cuba. They head this way, and they either go one of a couple of different directions. They either go straight across, straight west, depending on the winds and what's going on up here. They either cut across the Yucatan, across the Gulf of Mexico, and do about $10 worth of damage in Mexico. I joke. Or they will turn a little more north and go into Texas or Louisiana. Or they'll go much more north and go into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. And all these northern turns you see here, here, and here, they're all happening because of Cuba. Cuba, is especially in this part of Cuba, is very mountainous. There are a lot of geographical features here that influence how winds are travel over the country, and how the wind pattern can steer a hurricane, because that's really the only thing that steers a hurricane. The warm water fuels it, and the winds, the upper level winds, steer it. And the upper level winds coming off of Cuba, combined with the fact that if it passes over this western part of Cuba, which is mountainous, the storms get chewed up and the direction gets altered. That's one reason. That's the major reason, scientifically, they say, why the west coast of Florida in general and central Florida in particular is shielded from hurricanes. This part of Cuba is sort of parallel to the west coast of Florida. And when a hurricane starts curving up and interacts with this part of Cuba, it tends to kick the storm either more north or more northwest. For a storm to come up this way and hit Florida, it actually has to make a turn northeast or east. And that doesn't happen very often. So if you want to believe the legend of the Indian burial grounds, that's great. I'll believe it because, like I said earlier, anything to keep my family safe, it makes me happy. But if you want to look at how the geography of the area and the upper level winds coming off of the continental United States affects how hurricanes act, you can believe that too. But either way, fortunately for me and for my children and for my parents, and the rest of the folks who live in this area, whether you want to believe in Indian burial grounds or you want to believe in this stuff or a combination of both, a combination of factors has rendered the west coast of Florida very, very fortunate that we don't get hit very often. And when we do get hit, because of the island of Cuba and the interaction of Cuba and the Yucatan and all this land here, when a hurricane does head more in our direction and gets close to Sarasota and to the west coast, they're usually weakened pretty badly by land. If water, warm Gulf water, warm Atlantic water, warm Caribbean water is the fuel for hurricanes, interacting with land masses is a hurricane's kryptonite. Anyway, I hope this didn't bore you guys too much. If it did, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments below. If you found this to be interesting, let me know. But this one was mostly from my friend Battle Angel. She wanted a little bit more on the legend and so on. And I thought I would go over the legend, but I thought I would also go over this stuff here. So I hope you found it interesting. Anyway, this is your boy, Celine Driver. Not walking, but talking, signing out.